Welcome home. We provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Alfronzo Spence II here with me today. How you doing, Alfonso?
I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent, Cedric. Nice to meet you on this level of conversation, man. I'm excited to be here today.
Absolutely. I want to say hello to everybody who's tuning in, people that we can see and people who we cannot see. Emery Curry, I see you out there. Robert Cantar, I see you out there. Everybody who's tuning in, I appreciate you because each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is a place for you to pick something up. I'd be remiss if I didn't open this conversation up in deference to hip hop culture, rap culture, and your thoughts on the loss of DMX today. How are you feeling tonight?
Yeah, I think that's a terrible tragedy that the brother had to leave. We all got to go at some point, but just to watch somebody that was so great and be in such an iconic. We watched DMX grow. We watched him go through things. We watched him go through hurt, pain, and deal with it pretty much on a public format. Drug addiction, which is something I talk heavy about, just addictions in general. This brother dealt with it on a live platform in front of everybody. So shout out to the Simmons family and everybody who was involved with help making DMX who he was. But definitely shout out to that brother for just unveiling his life in front of us on a public format. I'm grateful to have even been in lifetime to even experience that brother on any level.
Does his life and story and plight compel you to think about community, the unity of our community, how we address drugs, how we address the person who may or may not be addicted to drugs? Any of those conversations come to mind?
Oh, definitely. Well, I'll just say this again. His life, I feel like was put out on a format where everybody was able to kind of see all of his faults. So for that reason alone, yes, definitely community, because we all go through things. And so when you're able to see somebody that went through jail, drugs, I'm not particularly sure what drug that brother was using, cocaine, I know for sure, but some other things I'm sure. And just watching him battle those things in family, dealing with his kids, his ex relationships and things like that. I think that speaks volumes to anybody that's talking about community. So we as a community, we don't know how to put things together. And when we get the life spans of our ancestors or our elders or people who have lived before us, and we can see how the mistakes and things that they may have made, then I think that for somebody who's able to we're just talking about community. Yeah, you definitely learn a lot from that brother's life. So I think everything he went through was necessary for everybody who's here after him.
Right. I feel that we need to address drugs in our community, and his life means that much more when we have a conversation about the impact of drugs and drug culture in our communities. Is getting to the point where I think we need to speak on it. I think that we need to have our own war on drugs, if you will, because when you allow it to just go unaddressed for so long, it seems like we get hurt in the long run. I'm often in a barbershop and people were talking a lot today about how he might have had too many yes men around him, too many people saying, "Oh yeah, it's cool for you to do that because you're DMX. I'm going to leave you alone because you're DMX." And I also heard people saying, people should have been stepping in. People should have been, checking in with him, making sure he was okay. Taking things out of his hand if necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is back to that community, like you said, when we're able to make it comfortable to be able to, deal with certain things, and it's not so taboo, community. He didn't have a strong community of people around him. I agree. He couldn't have. You can't have a circle of people around you that love you and that support the greater things in you and watch you let a substance take you out and deteriorate your life. So yeah, It's very unfortunate, but yeah, that speaks volumes to just like what I said, community.
Right. That's right.
Right people around him.
We have a comment from Cordell Davis. He says, I think we should address not only the drugs, but the lifestyle itself. I agree with him, you know, and we're going to get right into that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuning in, we're having a conversation with Alfronzo Spence II. This is a powerful American man right here. And we're going to hear his perspectives and his insights inside of this hour on America's Next Motivator. Now, do you believe that we have a lack of the masculine man, particularly the masculine black man, who's unafraid to address another masculine black man to say, hey man, pull back a little bit, cut it out, stop. Are we deficient of the masculine forward-facing black male today?
Oh, wow. Thank you. And again, it's a pleasure to be here today. For those that's tuning in, y'all got to check me out, Aldees on DOA. I really speak from the heart when I say this, brother, that there is none of that. We are, as men, we are uneducated and uninformed on how to even address other men.
Wow.
The complexes, the energy. I don't care what neighborhood you're from. Cleveland, Detroit, St. Louis, LA, you know, when we meet each other and we greet each other, there's always a level of hostility. So when other men talk to each other, there's always, I think at first, a level of a challenge. So even if I'm saying something that could be saving my life, you know, what's in it for you? Against the lack of community, we don't see the love that an older brother or somebody that may have been through something, we don't see that level of love that he may want to share, you know, and a lot of times what happens is, especially with the younger brothers, I think what happens, and even me when I was younger, you tend to take something that somebody maybe older trying to share with you, is trying to control you, or what is it that they're trying to get from you? Because we're not used to feeling that level of not having fathers. Some of us just never had. That's huge. I mean, so definitely there's a lack of us being able to see masculinity and masculinity showing love to other men without it being a pause moment, so to speak.
Right. That's right. A pause and an off standing. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we're in for a powerful conversation tonight. Please tag somebody, text somebody, share the video, like the video, and subscribe to this conversation tonight inside this hour on America's Next Motivator. We're talking about the lifestyle of the drug culture, the alcohol culture, which is sometimes seen as a coward culture as a result of the lack of communication between men, to the point where, like you said, we don't even know how to take conversation or redirection or advice from another man, because we feel that somebody's trying to compete with us or subdue us in some sort of way. And I think that mechanism of men being able to work together is a key to the leadership, the unity, all the positive things you want to talk about that needs to happen in our community. I think it starts with black men being able to work together for the advancement of the community. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would agree. I just want to say let's talk solution. Getting together and actually idolizing some of these icons that have left us, and some of these icons that came before us, who have showed us ways. I mean, everybody's not going to be perfect, so we got to stop looking at everybody's life. You know, DMX, speaking of that brother today, or any other of our icons that we've lost or seen, I'm sure you can look at any tabloid and find any dirt or disgust on those people, and find some type of mess to kind of draw in on, if that's the type of person you are. When you're talking about life lessons and things people go through, we need to take these people and learn from them. That's the way we're gonna get past that. And being in a position, we see the solution from the people that's in front of us. You know, these lives and they going through these things. So we got to start idolizing some people that may have been demonized. I think when that brother Nipsey Hussle lost his life, and a lot of people seen Barack Obama and some other powerful people speak at, you know, on his death and things like that, a lot of people were amazed. The thing, we got to stop looking at people like, oh, this guy's got dreads in his hair. He may have come from this walk of life, or, you know, this person I can't learn nothing from this person because they're not adequate to my level of how I see someone. We got to people what they've been through and get the lesson out of their life, especially if they're willing to share. So that's a big thing for sure.
Talk to us about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
I actually grew up. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. All my Cleveland natives, dog pound. Yeah, my family migrated to Michigan in my younger years. So most of my formative years, I grew up in a small town in Michigan, in between Jackson and Battle Creek area. It's Albion. So definitely grew up there for the most part. And when I say grew up, physically, I grew up. I don't matured mentally there, but so that's where life kind of started off for me for my formative years, and then
hold on. You said that you didn't do much growing up mentally in Michigan.
Yeah. I think the transition for me from Ohio to Michigan was a little bit different. Culture shift.
How old were you when you left Cleveland to move to Michigan?
I think I want to say I was like 5, 6,
Okay.
maybe 6 or 7, something like that. Yeah, maybe 7. So I might have been 7.
Do you feel that a lot of life, conversations, lessons have been invested in you by the time you were 7 years old?
Yeah, subconsciously, but not to a point where one could recall probably at the age I am now. Definitely these are the years of actually introducing pain, you know, traumatic experiences, things that we see sometimes at those age shape us in the way that we may view a traumatic situation, or we may, if you see blood or you see somebody get shot at 5, that may just alter the way you may look at things, even as you start processing it and knowing that all blood ain't bad. Some blood be got from a shot or something, or get. I just think that it starts right there. So for sure.
What did Cleveland look like from what you remember? What did your neighborhood look like before you left?
That I probably don't. I don't really recall the actual how the streets really looked before I left. So not so much. We did.
I mean, like what was the feeling of what was going on? Did it look like everything was happy and positive, or did it look like there was some struggle going on? Were the mechanics really dirty? Talk about it.
Yeah. I think for growing up in Cleveland, starting out growing up, the transition, and by way of Columbus, by the way, I can't forget we did stay in Columbus before we came to Michigan. Was a little poverty, obviously. But I think for the most part, what stood out to me was the lack of, I feel like I didn't have the connection, the male connection. My father kind of was in and out of the jail system a little bit, but when he came around, he was there. So, at a young age, sometimes looking at that, you can kind of start contesting. That's where the contesting starts right there. I'm listening to you. You're not even here all the time. And as a young person, you'll start to analyze again, prejudging. And he's trying to raise me and do the best he can. And here comes the judgment. So it was kind of that scenario until we kind of, I want to say, settled down more so in Michigan. Things were a little bit more stable.
Okay. When you moved to Michigan, obviously people were, they were tagging on you because you were from Ohio.
Yeah. Oh man!
And if you don't know, Ohio and Michigan have this thing of competition, and just a little bit of disdain for one another,
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit of disdain for one another. I'm a Buckeye fan myself. It's never blue, it's always red.
For sure.
But what was Michigan like for you in terms of school? What was your school experience like?
Definitely different from a standpoint of friendship. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I wound up growing to have the friends. I think one of the biggest things, but especially moving to a small town, I was in a small town and everybody was related. So here I was, the guy from another city, state, and I'm not really related to anybody. I wound up finding I do have some cousins there now. Shout out to my family down there in Albion that I know now, but growing up, no, I did not know these people. And, so there were a lot of fights, needless to say, that type of deal, fitting in.
How did you deal with, the offense, people being offended by you being there, by you being competitive, by you potentially being strong? Did you just fight it out, or did you learn to have conversations or a meeting of the mind, or find a way to communicate as opposed to just continuing to fight it out?
Definitely not the latter. Definitely were a lot of fights again. I can't say it enough. That was about the only. I don't think I learned how to really communicate because at that point I didn't have any real confidence in myself. I think sometimes when you have family and older, siblings or even just friends and family, it can give you somewhat of a level of courage and you kind of feel confident in yourself to be able to even maybe come up with a conversation or talk to somebody. But at that age, not too much communication on that level. Kind of willing to do whatever it took to, get my respect within regards of just any disrespect. I wanted to be known as somebody that definitely wouldn't back down because I didn't really have nobody else to go to. My father was, when he did, wind up settling down and stuff, he's a grown man, so he really couldn't get into my altercations and beef. So I definitely was a lack of me being able to show people who I was, and I had family and I had some people that had my back. So I didn't have none of that. I had to just kind of start it out on my own, and there was a lot of head bumping in that process, a lot of head bumping.
Talk to me about your thoughts on brotherhood. Like, how were you impacted by not having, that male camaraderie to the point where you got to fight every day? When that, now, obviously, that brotherhood exists out there. There are things you can be a part of where, brotherhood exists. What are your thoughts on brotherhood today?
I think it's huge. It's definitely needed. The lack of that, I feel a respected brotherhood from a positive standpoint was not there. And this is why a lot of brothers get caught up in the gangs. Even myself, getting involved in gang activity at a young age, and definitely being influenced by that culture because that was the camaraderie or the brotherhood. I can fit in here. I can claim this or say this with these guys, and so here's my family, here's my brothers. And it does levels for a man, for a young man, building your confidence. When somebody got your back and somebody supports you, whether it's 2 people or 20, it definitely does something for your confidence. So I think some brotherhood. Nobody wants to be a Boy Scout when you got street gangs and local celebrities and people that are, a little bit more popular. Boy Scouts seem to be a little too square. So
that's right. Okay, so let's deal with this. Let's deal with this for a second, because the context of this conversation right now is the dysfunction that exists in our communities. You have, you got poverty, you got drugs, you have young men who feel like they need more of a male influence in their lives. And we know that there's a deep desire for brotherhood. It sounds to me like we need to create some sort of a brotherhood initiative in our communities that's not bent on being a bad influence, and it's not quite the Boy Scouts, but it's right there in the middle. Sounds like we need something to fill that gap. Sounds like we need something that we can get involved in, that we can have a level of brotherhood that we can use to learn how to grow into an effective adult. What do you think about that?
Oh, it's on the way. Cause I mean, like I want to be honest with you. This what we doing now. Even talking about it, it opens the door. But now in front of everybody, people are able to see that this is the image of some brothers that's in the inner city. We want to work things out. A lot of people want to work things out. They just don't know how. People don't know how to talk. A lot when those riots and things that happen. I mean, from before my time to now, the George Wallace, rest in peace, when that happened, and all the way back to LA riots and Cleveland riots and Detroit riots in years previous, there was always a level of dissatisfaction from people and them not knowing how to express themselves. So when we know how to communicate and express ourselves, you don't lash out like that. It don't have to be a riot and tearing up the whole neighborhood that you shop at and that your mama live at and go, you don't have to do all that type of stuff. A lot of that comes out of frustration because we don't know how to communicate. So then there's a temper tantrum.
Right.
I think that's what's happening with a lot of us, since we don't see that avenue or that welcoming format to be able to communicate with other brothers. We lash out. And I'm going to be heard one way or the other. And I think that seems a little bit more masculine than reaching out to a brother, communicating.
It seems we need to really respect what we are, and that is a massive storm waiting to make itself known to the world. Each man is a massive storm waiting to reveal himself to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, drop a 1 in the chat if you understand what I'm saying when I say that a man is a massive storm waiting to reveal himself to the world. And it's possible that powers that be, our greater society, knows this. They know that you are a massive storm that wants to reveal itself to the world. And if that's not done with the help of other grown men, if that's not done piece by piece by piece correctly, then you'll simply spin out of control. And sometimes they're right there waiting on you with handcuffs. Sometimes the fellas down the street right there waiting on you with a handgun. And so this didn't just start this generation. We have generation of the generation, like you mentioned your father. I could mention my father. We could talk about grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers and great-great-great-grandfathers who were massive storms who didn't know how to express that gravity to the world. And as a result, they ended up institutionalized. They ended up ripped away from their families. They ended up pulled away from brotherhood. They ended up unable to communicate to the world who they truly are. How many of our greatest stories of men went to the grave without ever being told? Because you were a storm that needed to be quelled by society, because you were a fire that needed to be extinguished by society, because you were a great flood that needed a whole bunch of sand thrown on top of you. And so we have to get this idea of the powerful man being okay, the powerful man being normal, the powerful man being a part of the backbone of life. But let's treat men correctly by showing them how to grow up.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to say this, each one teach one. We have these sayings we hear, but it is, I think, as a man, it's your responsibility to reach back. If you're not giving back and teaching from a standpoint of not just your understanding, but giving back to allow somebody younger than you or that's following in your footsteps to have a better shot at the path than you did, that's selfish. And I don't see any level of masculinity. If we're talking about masculinity, it can never be masculinity in that. We have to start at what it is.
Right.
We have sex with women, we get women pregnant, and that seems to be like the masculine thing. Like, oh, I got 8 kids, or I got 7 sons, and and of course I wouldn't be happy about that. But I mean, who's excited about the rearing, the actual taking time and showing. I show my son how to start a bank account or save money or invest and learn how to read the stock market. Like that level, that's got to be the guy that we look up to and say, that's the OG. That's a real dude right there. Not the guy that's just having sex and you know, baby's kids type of mentality. We got to stop justifying that in our communities right now. Those are myths, and those are not men. That's just not what any level of masculinity presents in no dominant society all the way across the world. No society makes it when men start acting like that.
Mm-hmm. At some point, we've got to start working on each other. We have to figure out how to work on each other. You know, I see this happen at, you know, barbershops. I see it happen sometimes at the family function. But I think we need a way, because we can't leave it up to everybody else. We can't leave it up to the women. We can't leave it up to the schools. We can't leave it up to the penitentiaries, and we can't leave it up to the government to work on one another. And I want to broaden this conversation tonight. Yeah, we're talking to the black man tonight, right? But we know that what makes the black man whole and makes the black man effective also makes the black woman whole and makes her effective, and then it makes the family and the children effective, and then it makes the community happy, and then it makes us productive.
So that. Yeah.
The hallmarks of this conversation apply to everybody's family, though. White families, Hispanic families, Chinese families, you name it, we're talking about you tonight. But it's got to be okay for us to be specific and talk about places from which we came. And those are black communities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've got to figure out how to work on one another. It can't be that if I'm talking to you about how you can make your life a better thing, you're wondering how much money is in my pocket so you can rob me. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. These are the type of games that we play in our communities. This is a good guy. This is a square. He seems knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. I want to attack his character because nobody built my character up. Mm-hmm. I want to beat him up and I want to rob him. That's what we be doing.
Yeah.
We got to turn that around. What say you?
Those characteristics that you just explained right there are classic behavior patterns of someone who's been abused. Anybody that's deep into psychology, I don't want to, because I'm licensed in any level of psychology outside of my own life, but I will tell you this: those who have traveled down that path of understanding psychological behavior patterns, that is classical trauma from somebody who's been abused. It will take something that is righteous or something that is good and try to put the spotlight on it as a bad thing so that no light hits them. It's bizarre and crazy, but this is a tactic so that there's no self-accountability. I don't ever want to be responsible for how messed up my life is or how messed up my thoughts are. So let me attack this guy over here. Let me build a platform. And I mean, we see people on blogs all day long. People sit up and tear down others only to build their self up. So definitely, I mean, we got to stop that. We got to stop that now. And like I said, call them that type of mentality is sick. I don't care who it's coming from.
That's right.
It could be a celebrity. It could be a family member. And maybe you don't have the time or energy or courage or actually the audacity to say it right now. And you're dealing with a parent that's like, I just think it's necessary that we put things in a format where we are calling these things out, calling them out as they are, and then people can see that, because they may not be able. Some kids can't call out their father or their mother if they're showing that type of toxicity.
That's right.
Stuff out, man, and at least be here and be an outlet for those who can't say it out on their own.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we're doing here tonight. Speaking up, putting the mirror up to our communities, being honest and transparent about the fact that we are attacking each other. We are turning a blind eye at other people's success. We watch one another abuse yourself. I'll sit back and watch you abuse yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Some might argue that's what happened around DMX.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the trauma, the socioeconomic positioning of our people results in self-abuse and the abuse of others. Mm-hmm. I think that too many of us turn a cheek to that. We don't work on each other. We let it slide. But tonight, inside of this hour on America's Next Motivator with Alfronzo Spence II, we're putting a mirror up to the black man tonight. And we're letting you know that we got to turn this ship around. We got to do a 180. Don't trick me by asking me to do a 360. We got to do a 180. We're going to talk solutions tonight. We're going to make some changes. Mm-hmm. Stop attacking one another. Build one another up. Go ahead.
I just want to say, and the first step of doing that, you could go to AA, you could go to any abuse class, anything where somebody's been where they're overcoming something. The first thing you got to do is admit it. You have to, you know, we as men, black men in general, that whole level of masculinity doesn't like to show any level of vulnerability. So do the corner. Go behind closed doors. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to admit to yourself that this is something you have to deal with. And so, you know, like, I mean, any level, that's what I'm all about, man. Self-accountability.
That's right.
I don't talk to people for a long time who don't draw up on any level of self-accountability. When I see people dodging the ball, never wanting to hold any level of responsibility, my conversations are usually short with those people. And that's the only way I know how to deal with them. When somebody's talking to me and they're holding levels of accountability for anything they may have done, even if they think it could have been something they could have done different to get a better solution out of something, those are the type of people that they get attention from me and I can talk to and build with. We can't give guys, a lot of people get credit for who they are because of what they have. That's the big thing in our communities. A lot of money, pretty much everything you said is right. It's all good. It don't even matter if it makes sense. You got two Bentleys, so it must be a level of truth to it because you have these things. So that's a big myth right there. And I'm ready to dispel it. I'm ready to dispel it, and I'm ready to start with actually bringing forth some techniques. I've started on my page, you know, actual steps to overcoming our own personal trauma and start holding ourselves accountable. Not going out and trying to change the world. I'm talking about dealing with self first before you can even look at anybody else.
Powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a break right now, but the one thing I don't want you to do is to leave the building. I want you to sit tight. We're going to take a brief break, couple messages, and we'll be right back with you. Sit tight. We'll be right back with more from Alfronzo Spence II. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network and our viewership. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you out there tonight. We're going to get into some solutions now because Alfronzo has made it clear that the problem is well known. We've talked about it over the decades, but it's now the time to talk about the solutions. You said before we went to the break that you're actually working on several steps that would allow us to deal with self.
Yeah.
What is the first? What are a couple of those steps?
Well, yeah, I had started out with a 10-step program that kind of pretty much highlights things that I've actually went through and actually done work in overcoming multiple problems. Things that would have been milestones in my life, that are milestones in my life that I've overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Again, uh, these are steps that have worked for me, and anybody that's done any work could definitely use any one of these exercises. They don't have to go in the order that I give them, but they definitely can help with dealing with your own personal toxic trauma that we have inside of us. My number one step that I started out with was stop sharing everything. That's pretty self-explanatory. Again, the first thing is we got to admit what's going on with us and what we are dealing with. You don't have to do it out loud, but admit it. You don't have to share with everybody, but you definitely got to acknowledge it. And then finding some type of positive dependent.
Let's, if we can, let's evaluate each of these 10 real quick, really quickly. Why do you believe that we need to stop sharing everything? Expound on that.
The reason, I'd say the main reason generally, I'll just say, yeah, generally the main reason is because when you share at the beginning stages of dealing with something, dealing with an addiction or some obsession or that you may be dealing with, I just think that those times are very vulnerable. And so a protecting mode needs to happen. And when you share, you're very vulnerable. You're going to be vulnerable to people saying something you might have just did an hour ago. You decide in an hour, hey, I want to quit smoking cigarettes. And somebody say, you just bought a pack of cigarettes. Now this ain't the time to tell that guy that you want to stop smoking cigarettes.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where Alfronzo Spence relates to thousands and thousands of people across the country tonight. This is original thought. This is him letting the world know the gifts of who he is. This is intellectual property. These are original thoughts. This is extremely valuable. Listen to what he's saying and apply it to your life. He's not getting this out of a book. He got this out of his heart, out of his soul, out of his life experience. These are the moments that profits are made of. What's step number 2?
Step number 2 is pretty much finding a positive dependent. Something that we could, so they say, a comforter. When we're going through things, people have dependence. I mean, that's why we reach out to drugs, we reach out to alcohol, we reach out to or whatever to feel, those voids and things that we may be going through. My challenge to everyone is to not immediately just get better, but find a positive. So whatever it is, if you like to drink to have a good time, just try drinking something outside of alcohol. Maybe it's just, I learned when I had quit drinking that a lot of times just having a cup in my hand and socializing was all I really needed. I didn't need to continuously drink as much. Now, obviously, there's going to be a difference. But when you do try to find other dependents, whether it's talking, anything that's positive, as long as it has a positive vibe to it, and an dependent is huge, because if you take away drugs or sex or whatever your thing is and don't fill it with something else, I think that could definitely make all of these steps kind of crumble around.
This is huge. This is huge because 10 out of 10 people are going to use something to cope with.
Oh yeah.
And getting out in front,
that's everybody.
It's everybody, yeah. Getting out in front of it and saying, make sure that what you use to cope is positive. That can make a huge difference. Hey, I know you're moving around with your family, your relationship with your parents is kind of strained, and you got more or less siblings around and life is tough. Depend on something positive. These are words from a big brother tonight. What's step number 3?
Step number 3 is separating yourself, man. Isolating. I put when I was talking about it, mostly isolating / separating
Why?
yourself. Um, Birds of a feather flock together. You know the old saying. You cannot continue to go on a forward progression. I say the main thing about separating will probably be for some level of strength. You're not gonna find strength in the crew of people that's doing something that you're trying to stop doing. So if you want to stop robbing people, or you want to stop stealing purses or ham sandwiches or whatever you may be involved in, then you would have to at least for a day or two disassociate yourself with that crew. And at that point in time is where we can go to the next steps, because you cannot even begin to fix anything hanging around the same group of people that's going to start attacking you.
That's right. This is huge, ladies and gentlemen. Alfonso's 10-step philosophy on how we can turn our communities around, but first, how you can turn yourself around. So if you are a young man out there, or you're a young woman out there, or you're a grown man out there, or you're a grown woman out there, apply these steps to your life. If you're just now tuning in, we're talking to Alfronzo Spence II. He's into the solutions of how we deal with the narratives that exist in our communities. And right now we are on step 4. What's step number 4?
Step 4 was rebuilding that crew, rebuilding that actual entourage or circle. That's what I actually, when I brought it forth on my page, it was rebuilding your obsessed crew. Because what you want to do is rebuild people that's basically centered around what your agenda is.
That's right.
And that's definitely that's going to be to compensate the friends you dealing with, the entourage you may have had that comforted you. Shout out to my brother DMX again, man. But you know, whoever those people were, he had a comfort circle. And I'm not saying those people could control DMX, because you know that guy was his own self and he had to be responsible for his own actions. However, we owe it to ourselves to actually build the kingdom that we want to sit our throne on.
That's right.
We want to dominate, and we say we want to open up a bank, or we want to make a life better for our kids, or we want to be a better husband, or whatever we want to do. You have to create that environment. And so rebuilding up that new set of friends, maybe hanging around some married men. If you want to stop cheating on your wife, hang around some guys that don't cheat on their wife. This is rebuilding the crew. New friends, not the slutty friends.
You know what? You can feel you can feel yourself. You can feel your influence. You know when your influence is strong. What Alfonso was saying tonight is take it upon yourself to influence somebody else. Rebuild your crew. Influence somebody. Listen, man, I think you and I think we could do some things together. You know, I think we can build together. I think we can have an effective cipher. I think iron sharpens iron when we sit down and communicate. Rebuild the crew. Take it upon yourself to influence somebody tonight. What's step number 5?
Step number 5 was pretty much kind of like what I was touching on when I was talking about our elders and icons in our communities, but accepting new ideas. That's, to me, I think that's, especially when it's coming from other men, our brothers out there, you know, accepting new ideas or great counsel. That's going to be solely depending on the person to allow. So that means I'm going to have to allow some new or some new ideas to come into my mind. First of all, I'm going to have to listen to some motivational speakers or read some good words or good books, but then I have to accept them. Challenge. It ain't always a challenge. My brother said something to me today. I don't always have to, oh man, he only saying that because he taller than me, or he think he got more money than me. Don't look at that. Just accept some new ideas. If it's new and it's good for you, accept it.
What is step number 6?
Step number 6, man, kind of gets me off into, because I never did do my 10th step on live, but this will be perfect opportunity for me to put my 10th step. But 6 kind of correlates with this, but it's model yourself after people you want to be. Pretty much, I don't have a problem with following leaders, because a real leader, and a lot of people out here that claim that they are leaders, and want people to model themselves after them, you know, our reality show stars. And but let me just say this: real leaders teach you how to lead. Okay, a leader doesn't need followers; they just are followers. Okay, and I think we spend a lot of time on building followers and wanting an entourage or a crew, and sometimes those people are actually fixing toxic things in us and not letting them actually fix things. I definitely want to say that modeling yourself after somebody is going to be huge, because at this point you don't want to try to be them. And I spent a lot of time on this. You don't want to be that person, but you definitely want to look at some things that another person may have done or been through, and take note.
This, you know, it takes a big person to put this out there and to give it out for people to observe and adopt. Everybody seeks leadership. We seek examples. We seek illumination.
Yeah.
We seek to be illuminated. And when you don't know how to illuminate yourself, as 8 out of 10 people don't know how to do, then you look at who does have an illuminated life, whose life is full of God, whose life is full of grace, whose life is full of positivity. And we take that and we model after it. So that's huge. It's okay if you look at Alfonso, or you look at somebody else out there, or uncle, or even a celebrity, and you say, I like the way that person is modeling adulthood. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's step number 7?
Step number 7 was pretty much being transparent. And there's a twist to it, because that being transparent is not for everybody at every time. Remember, I told you, you know, in the beginning.
Don't share too much. Don't share everything.
Yeah, you do have to protect your ideas and things that you maybe want to do, but being transparent, like I'm doing now. Everybody's on a need to know basis. However, transparency brings about relativity, and when you relating to people, I think it's easier to reach people. I think it's easier for me to have getting any message or any word that I wanted to get across to any person by showing them some level of where I relate to them.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
That's important.
I don't feel like you understand. They really, it's kind of, they're resistant to listening.
They don't understand why they should connect with you.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't understand why. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. What's step number 8?
Step number 8 is probably mental role playing.
Role playing. That's right.
Yeah, this is something that I definitely got to work a little more on with over the last few months. I was taking a course at my job, listening to this guy, this Grant Cardone, and a lot of when we were doing these courses, role playing was huge. You know, actually every day getting up. And what I mean by role playing, when you're going through something, act like you don't have this problem no more. Start associating yourself with people who don't deal with the problem that you may have been going through, whether it's drugs or alcohol. Act it out. You don't have to do it. Nobody around. You could sit at home in front of your mirror and act like you're talking to a respectable woman now, or not like the regular sleazy woman that you're normally talking to. And when you get used to doing that, when the actual things happen, yeah, it won't be foreign to you, because this is what actors do. Actors do it all day. Role play. They get scripts. They act it out with other actors, and they practice. Practice makes perfect.
This is huge, because people often wonder, how do I change my life? I can write plans down all day. I can even come up with some new dreams. But how do I actually change my habits? How do I change my life? I see everybody else doing it. You come across phrases like fake it till you make it, and you say, oh, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm too busy keeping it real or keeping it 100. But in reality, you got to role play your future. You've got to wake up tomorrow and behave as if your future is happening. You got to wake up tomorrow and do the things that you want to see happening in your future. You got to wake up and do that. Even if your bank account doesn't reflect it yet, even if you're not getting the phone calls you want to get yet, you still need to wake up, do your morning rituals, go about your day as if you're creating the future. And the next thing you know, somebody is going to treat you like the image that you're presenting. So take care of yourself. Love on yourself. Get in that mirror and really envision where you want your life to be. Tell yourself the instructions. Believe in your consciousness. Go ahead.
I just want to say, out of all the steps, this is the one that has to be done every single day. And the more you do it, and I'll admit, I miss days where I don't role play in things that I need to be overcoming and conquering. And I can tell the difference, but try it. If you want to take one of these steps and you just want to take a little bit of something, just take this one for sure. Act it out as though it was before it even happens. And it'll seem as if you've been there for years when people actually start congratulating you and seeing how much you've grown. Act it out.
I see that you've come up with a genius paradigm here. You took your life and you translated it into a series of steps. These steps are like food for thousands of people who've lived lives similar to yours. And that can't be understated tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, go through these steps and realize how much different would our world be tomorrow if people woke up and started with step 8.
Yeah.
The whole world would be different.
Yeah.
The vibration of the world will be different if everybody woke up tomorrow and role play what they want their life to turn into. Now, with that being said, for those people who want the last 2 steps, how can people find you for mentorship or, to bring you in as a consultant or something like that?
Everybody can kind of reach me on my Facebook right now, Al D's, or Al D's DOA, which is obsessions. D's is obsessions and addictions. You can reach me on any one of those on the messenger. Al Major Comeback on IG.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much get in touch with me. It's actually new for me. I'm just really, a lot of these things that I'm expressing, I'm going through them, so people are able to see and tap in and see, as my brother DMX, like I said, rest in peace. But we watched him. We can relate to these icons and people we've seen go through things. So I'm doing mine right now while I'm over ground. I ain't waiting till I'm dead. And I'm fixing myself right now in front of the world,
That's right.
Myself, not for the world, but for myself and for my family.
As we round third base, I got 3 questions for you, and we've got a minute and a half for you to answer these 3 questions. My final thought is that you represent so many of the lives that exist here in America and around the world, and we're calling on your leadership. We are calling on you to provide your program, provide your curriculum, provide your mentorship. We're calling on you tonight. The same way somebody called on Malcolm X, we're calling on you. Step into the shoes that you pulled out from under the bed and go out there and influence the world the same way that you're doing tonight 10 times over. I got a few questions for you as you round third base. The first, what is survival to you?
Survival would be finishing. Yeah, just completing something. Don't start it, just complete it. Just get it, just see it all the way through, no matter what.
What is success to you?
Success is personal gratification for overcoming a goal or achievement.
What is greatness to you?
Oh, greatness. Greatness could be defined as as me. Greatness is getting up every
Right.
day and realizing that you got a fresh start to do something. I'm never defined by anything that I've went through or anything that may have been a mistake or something on my part. Those things don't define me. I can always start back over. To me, that's great. That's huge.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's start the Greatness is Me challenge right here on America's Next Motivator. Let the world know why you're great and post a video. It's born right here inside this hour. I want to let you know that we listened to your story tonight and we're giving you your respect while you're still alive. Ladies and gentlemen, get your crown emojis ready. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. Put your crown emojis into the chat because we're giving you a crown tonight while you're still alive to receive it. We're letting you know, letting the world know that you, Alfronzo Spence II, also known as Al D's, you are America's Next Motivator.
I appreciate it. I thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this platform. Much respect to you, man. With motivating. This is what we're here for, man. Let's change one step at a time, man.
Absolutely. You see, you got crowns in the building. Thanks for stopping by tonight. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do is stop by and pick it up.